Guys, welcome to this month's deep dive, which is planning for achievement. I want to say congratulations. I want to honor you guys for making the commitment to join the Start Monthly tribe. And please, if you got any questions, feel free to send us a message on Basecamp. We use Basecamp as our social media platform. We use Basecamp probably more for the internal organic communications and just getting feedback, and hopefully we can support you guys in the best way we know how. But don't feel shy to use the pings or the chats, and you can connect not just with us directly at Start Results, but you can also connect with each other. And this is something I think that was missing in a lot of the other exclusive coaching programs that I've been through, is they made it a little bit restrictive, so you couldn't even like connect with your peers and maybe collaborate behind the scenes. But through Basecamp you have open source and open freedom, and obviously you can get yourself updated there and also connect with other people around the world. So we're really excited about this new offer, and we're really excited about being able to give that to you guys. So just want to honor you for taking that commitment to have a different type of dialogue this year to maybe one you've had in the past, which is about focusing on performance, key performance habits, because I think that's really what's going to move the needle in your favor of success versus giving more information. So without further ado, let's jump into, or rather let's dive deep into this planning for achievement that I might have touched on in the workshops, but let's just take it one level deeper on what you can do to hopefully make this year the year you've been waiting for. So you know who I am. I'm Aaron, and what we're going to do today is we're going to cover focus goals a little bit more, just to expand on what is focus goals, and maybe I'll touch on why should you focus on focus goals versus mean goals, which is what I talk about that society or the world has encouraged us to focus on more. And then we'll talk about achieving the impossible, because again, if you don't have a certain bank account that you wish, but you wish to have it and you don't have it right now, it could feel a little bit impossible. Or maybe you're an introvert, that guy was, and you think you don't have the charisma or confidence that some of the movie stars we see have, and you think, I gotta be like that person, and that you think that's a bit impossible. So what might you need to do about that? And then obviously, where do you start? So we're going to workshop a few ideas around that. Okay, so let's start with focused focus goals. So with focus goals, I think it's just one of these big misconceptions. You have to set as many goals as you want, and because you write them down and you affirm them or whatever, that they're most likely going to happen. The reality is, guys, a lot of research is proving that this is not only false, but the fact is, just because you focus on writing something down is a good first step, but if you don't consistently execute that thing over the period of a year, years, chances are you may not get to the destination that you wish. So a couple of things I wanted to start off with, in case you haven't noticed. Last year I was big on setting goals for the year and looking forwards, but something I've noticed is it's also sometimes nice just to take a little bit of a step back and look at, last year happened, right? For some of us, we were maybe coming out of chaos last year. For some of us, we were maybe in chaos most of last year. But for some of us, we were getting out of chaos or getting into chaos. So, there's this winning joke that says, all of us are coming into chaos, in chaos, or getting out of chaos, but chaos kind of exists. This is true. But the reality is, I'd like you guys to think about this other question of what actually did work last year, because some things were probably blessings. Some things, I'm not saying that luck doesn't exist, or it does. It's just more that there are just some things that happened last year, honestly, I'm just so grateful for, because they weren't planned, or maybe they were part of my plan, and yes, in the universe nothing is an accident, but I'm just grateful that they came to fruition, and it wasn't something that I was intentionally aware of. It could be anything. It could be a friend visiting you. So I'd like you to just think about what were the things that actually did work last year for you, regardless of whether it was a great year for you financially or not. But in there, what were the lessons that you got about last year? So I'll just give you a couple of mine, which I thought were really cool, and I thought I'd just share them with you. So first one, commitment hurts, but it's always pays off. I'm sure all of us had to make some big decisions last year. I'm sure all of us, some big decisions were made for us, right? But at the end of the day, some of those things like change or trying to improve yourself or paying for coaching could have hurt in terms of the financial pocket. But I'm really hoping that some of those things that you did paid off because you made it to 2018 and some things obviously worked for you. Number two, take your time with your ambition. This is so important, guys. I know, you know, we watch movies, we see some kids in their teenage years, or you know, these people they call the Noahs, who were like Michael Jackson at the age of 5 knew he was born to dance and he just danced. And but if you even look at his journey, you know, he took his time to become as successful as he is. But some of his brothers also had the same level of success as he did when he was growing up, but it just took him longer. And Janet Jackson, his sister, wasn't as successful as Michael Jackson to begin with, but she became much more successful in her later years. So the point is, every single one of us has a different time frame for success. And so my suggestion is, which was more for me, is just over the later years of my career, I'm just a little bit more patient with my success in terms of what I want to achieve, because now I even understand the things that are missing, and that's what I'm going to share with you guys. Because it's one thing to set a goal, but it's another thing to achieve it, because you need to develop your skills. So if you don't have those skills, be patient, but more importantly, be kind to yourself, okay? Third is maintain your self-care routines. This is huge. If you ask me or talk to any of my clients that have been with me for over 4 years, they'll tell you back in the days, I was a wild card. I was telling people things like, you know, you just gotta take a sacrifice, you gotta burn the midnight oil, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, and you know, screw health, that kind of thing. And that was okay for maybe 1 year when you're trying to prove something to some people. But over the long-term sustained success that we're all looking for in life, guys, you have to maintain self-care. Because some of the billionaire friends I know, or some of the billionaire mentors or people I've read about, some of them who pass away due to ill health, unanimously they said they would have given away all their net wealth just to get their health back. So don't neglect the self-care, because you need to look after yourself as you're pursuing your goals. I hope that really makes a difference. Number 4, limit social media and bad news. Guys, here's what I know about bad news. Whether you go out there looking for it or whether you don't, the fact is it's going to find you, right? How many of us have kind of like not known about what's going on, but you go to a cafe and you go to the shop and you go here, you go, by the time you come home, you pretty much know what the breaking news has been, and it's usually what? Negative. So I'd like to encourage you, I'd like to challenge you guys to really be aware that it's one thing to be in the know, but it's another thing to really go out there seeking negativity, because the fact is you're going to get it anyway as you build your business, because you're facing resistance. You've got a new idea, nobody understands it, or you do, but nobody supports it because they're telling you should get a stable job. So you're already facing the negativity. Do you really need to go out of your way to get bad news? The other part is social media and just getting on there, pressing likes and not likes and things like that. You got to ask yourself the question, you know, is this really productive time? And if you're spending maybe too much time on it, or you're really seeing yourself getting distracted and going back on Facebook all the time just to see who's liked your post, then you got to ask yourself, you know, is that the best use of your time? And if not, or if you're feeling addicted by it, then I'd really want to invite you to really challenge yourself just to limit it for a little while. Okay, so those were kind of some of my top 4 lessons I learned last year. But I think what's good about that is once you sort of think about some of your top 4 lessons that you learned last year, good or bad, you can really give yourself some gratitude that things are kind of, you've learned some wisdoms from the things that didn't work out, but on the positive, maybe the things that really worked, like for me, maintaining my self-care routines really made a difference to my energy level. So I want to continue doing that. So it just gives you that little foundation to start with. So let's talk about now what a goal is. What is a goal? And I like to start with definitions, because for me, one of the biggest things I learned from one of my coaches who passed away, some time back, he says, you know, he asked me one day, he says, Aaron, do you want to know what the biggest cause of war is? You know, I don't know. What would you say to that answer? I was like, yeah, you know, it's this, it's that. But he basically said that, you know, the biggest cause of war is misunderstood words. And so you can imagine if you say something like love, or you say something like, you want to set a goal. Some people might think a goal means this, some people think the goal is that. Or to set targets, and you set targets, but people think targets are not commitments. so they don't set deadlines. That could really affect the outcomes, right? So similarly, it's always nice to go back to the dictionary and really find out what the true definition of a word is, and then that way you can align it with other people when you communicate. So in this case, I want us to just discuss what goal is. A goal is is specific things we will achieve in a stated period of time. This is what a goal is. So the two components here is specific, and the other one is stated period of time, which is obviously aka deadlines. So let's talk about the two types of goals that I've come to discover are there, and they're fundamentally different. So means goals are generally things that include, you know, I need you to do A so that you can get B, but then B will lead to C, and C will actually lead to D, happiness. So if you look at what A and D is, there's a couple of letters in between of things you need to achieve to get there. So we call these mean goals because it's like, well, means to an end. You know, you're going to get this to get this, and then this to get that. But what about if we just said to ourselves, well, if happiness is what we want to achieve, which is D, maybe the question of rather going through A, getting qualifications to get a good job, to get financial security so we can be happy, is why not ask ourselves right now from the get-go, what are the top things that make us happy? And what if some of those things that make you happy don't need you to get the mean goals done? So a perfect example for me right now is, I knew I wanted to change and make a difference in people's lives, but I thought I had to get a law degree to get respected. And then from there I could be respected by communities and then feel I'm making a difference, and then maybe get a degree because that's what's needed to get the job, and then get the job, and then I can start making a difference and make enough money to be happy. But once I got into that whole journey, I found out that I got myself just in more debt, and by the time I actually got to working as a lawyer, and I'm not putting anything down with lawyers, it's just for me as a person and what I wanted to do in my life, it wasn't necessarily legal work that it involved for me to do this. It actually involved something completely different. So for a good 15, 20 years of my life, I ended up putting myself in unnecessary debt, getting into jobs that I didn't feel fulfilled, and I probably didn't contribute to the employers as much as I could, only to get to the end of it and probably didn't get paid enough, only to get fired. So that whole concept of security was out the window. Now, yeah, it was a great experience and I don't regret it, but the point I'm making is there was just so much time I was wasting when I could have set different goals had I gone for the second, which is end goals, and worked my way backwards. Does that make sense? So what do they look like and what's good about both? Because each is different to different people, but I just want to explore a time frame. So in mean goals, you know you're in a mean goal situation when basically you find that people tend to be, it's a more of a smoother trajectory. It really only implies, actually it really encourages security. Security is kind of the end goal because it's safer to do this and it takes time to do that. And you know, at the end of the day, if we look at just maybe career for now, most people experience a big learning curve all the way up to university, and they graduate and get the job, and guess what? They never read another book in their life. They stagnate in life. So it's a very slow and steady growth. There's nothing wrong with that. It just depends on the bigger question, like I said, is what's the quality of your life you want to experience. What I would like to encourage you guys to think about is this one, because this is one of my favorite, obviously, is the quality of life tends to be higher, and this is not based on me and what I think. It's actually based on peak performers. Peak performers were in the top 15% of the population tend to have a higher quality of life, meaning they report being happier, they report having deeper connections, they report having more energy, they actually also report feeling more financially secure long-term because they're doing something completely different. But none of them, and this is what's interesting based on the research, guys, this is research, behavioral science, everything for the last 20 years, psychology, etc., social fulfillment, a couple of statistics on wellness and happiness markers in most developing countries, of course, is that the people that tend to be more fulfilled in life also don't value security as much. I want you to really think about that. The people that get the most fulfillment in life, who are peak performers, don't value security. Why? Because they have come to appreciate that 1 minute they're going up, let's just say you're in the business, and then oh no, they lose a client, they lose something, they go down, and then before you know it, woohoo, everything is great again, because they're pursuing fulfillment, they're pursuing experiences, they're pursuing contribution. These things have over the long haul, a very high fulfillment. Because if you notice, I don't know, any of you have ever done something risky, like jump out of a plane? This is risky stuff. That's against the norm of the previous graph, right? But if you've ever done jumping out of a plane, whether you've done it once or you continue to do it, reportedly, unanimously, you always say this is one of the best experiences I've had, right? And that makes you happy. So if that's true, what else in life is probably more applicable? And I would like to propose that I think in life we are here to have experiences. We're not here to get stuff. We're here to have experiences. And if we set ourselves on that benchmark of what are the best experiences I'd like to have in this life, and then work on your decisions to build that, I think you're going to have a roller coaster ride for sure, but it's going to be one that you're going to be very proud of. So what sort of experiences then should we look at? What categories can I give you in this deep dive? Because I don't cover these in workshops. This is why you're here as a tribe. I'm assuming you guys are advanced learners. You're looking to get deeper into specifics of what can help you. So what experiences do you have or want to look at having that could maybe give you a guide or a clue? So I actually wrote down a couple here just to give you some direction to think about. So obviously, you know, we're in the startup program, so naturally I put career and business at the top. There's not necessarily in order. It's just if you're going to get in business, it makes sense to put a focus on it, right? So career business is one in terms of experience. The questions there I'll probably want to ask you is, or ask yourself as a prompter is, you know, in my business, I would like to experience ... In my business, I would like to demonstrate ... In my business, I'd like to feel challenged in ... So what would you feel those ... on? Because I'm just trying to cue your questions there. Skills is a very important one, because like I said, none of us are born with business skills. We have to learn them. But some of those skills are very easy to some people, other skills are not. But in business, most skills have to be learned. And that way you can empower and delegate your team. So creative life. Me personally, I'm a bit boring. I really find my business to be a very great creative outlet. Why? I think I said it to some of you guys, I'm more of a writer and a trainer. But through my business, I get to create programs, I get to write my books, I get to challenge myself in creating presentations for workshops. Now, you know, being a dyslexic person, there might be not necessarily well spelt all the time, and you'll probably find some typos in my content here today. But the fact is, it really allows me to sit back there, reflect, create some content, and put it out there. And that really feels creative to me. So I get to tick a lot of boxes in one, so to say. But even if you're not, maybe you're into art when you're growing up, or maybe, you know, you're into music when you're growing up. So what are the things that make you feel creative that you feel you can do more of? Okay, so the next one is adventure. Adventure, easy one for everyone, is travel. You know, travel is one of the things most of us are doing. It's been rated that every single person wants to travel more. My question is, why wait till you're 60, 90, save up all the money just to go on this one trip to, say, Jamaica beaches, when you're maybe not young enough to enjoy it and run down the beaches, what was part of your dream? So try and create some adventures and put some places down that you really love to see. But my challenge is, I'd really encourage you to not think about the money yet. Just set a timer, and I said this earlier, set a timer for 20 minutes or less, and just write as much as you can in any of these categories as best as you can, without putting a limitation on how much money or time that you have to do them. Does that make sense? So health and fitness is the next, that's obvious. Intellectual life, this is where things like the start monthly that you're on is part of. I'm hoping through these deep dives you'll be getting some intellectual stimulation to think differently about certain things, so that it can make a difference on the track. Yeah. Environment, that could mean anything. I mean, you could have an environment where you're really proactive, like we are doing at the moment. We're trying to take on the recycle plastic issue by some of our businesses removing the plastic and trying to use glass bottles, implementing a recycle system in there, just to try and do our part for the environment. So the best thing I can suggest there is maybe just Google the UN, what's it called? Protocol, maybe? The UN has an objective of about 12 different things that you can do, and environment is one. But in the environment, they do explain a little bit more information about some of the things they're trying to address or tackle for the world. So just go there, pick a couple of things in the environment, and whack them and go, yeah, I'd like to experience that. So maybe go volunteer in those areas. Who knows? So love and romance. This I used to write down, and I always talked about love and romance with your partners. But what about maybe this, you challenge yourself more to go, well, how much love and romance can you give yourself? You're like, what do you mean, Aaron? I take myself for dinner? Well, I don't know if that's what it takes. Me, if you want to know, my love romance for me is I love movies. Love movies. More specifically, I love superhero movies. So every now and again, I book a time in between my crazy life, go see a movie, order caramel popcorns, sit there and watch, I don't know, even Game of Thrones, I don't really mind. But it's just that movie experience really, really nourishes my soul. So that's something that's really, really important, because there's some things you can get from partners and spouses and other people validating, but at some point you have to learn to how to fill your own cup, I believe. So take it or leave it. I don't have a great track record in relationships, as you know, but I really feel there's something to be said about loving yourself as much as you possibly can, so that you can love others more unconditionally. But food for thought. Next is friendships. I can't tell you how valuable my closest friends are to me, particularly this level in the business. As I grow and I become more known as a coach, some people don't know me as the person that was struggling. Some of my friends, guys, I don't know if you know my story, I was homeless at some point, and it took my friends getting me out of my own rut. So what I want to tell you is, the higher you go, the less likely people remember your past. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think a really special thing that you'd like to say is that you had a couple of friends that you could grow with over time. And I have some friends like this, and so we've just got to a point where, they say good friends are those people who know everything about you and still like you. My friends know the good, bad, and the ugly about me, but they still like me. But there's such a God-given gift, I think is probably the right context. And, we just have a bit of fun together, but I make a goal to maybe take them out, or some of them are full-time working people. I just make a point to surprise them with an experience that I know they couldn't have done on their own, based on life and commitments or whatever. But just a little thank you, and that's the time I get to spend to them, because 360 days of the year, I'm very busy serving others. So once you write these things down on experiences, these are just a couple of things to think about. Then let you spend some time across for each. So for example, for career, ask yourself, if you said, okay, well, I'd like to make an extra $2,000 a month. Okay, that's fine. If that's what it takes, and you're in a business, you know that you have to increase your sales. You know that you have to look at a more strategic sales and marketing plan, right? So the question there is, obviously second is what skills you need to learn to grow. But number two is, what are the things you need to do as an individual that can help you? And then my challenge in that same thread is, you make an extra $2,000 that you may have wanted for just an extra comfortable lifestyle, which is not a problem. Can you maybe donate 10% of your profit? So if you look at some of the things I put in, I'm not going to fill in all of it. In skills, I knew with my dyslexia, I would really love to learn more about reading, because I feel there's so much I can read about, but my dyslexia could stop me. So I found out that there's a couple courses you can do on different types of reading, and photo reading is one that could help people with my disposition. But on the right hand side, like I said, is what's the point of making all this money if you can know people to experience it with, create with, but also if you can give it away. So I want to recommend you to do that exercise as soon as you can. Okay, and then environment, for me, like I said, I always tend to be an adventure capitalist, so I don't really look at doing things outside my business. For me, I'm a bit of a, I guess, obsessive person. I try and do as many things within my business that make me feel like work isn't work. So I just build companies around things I want to do. So I'm big on contribution, but that's what I built the organic corporate juice business about. But that allows me to work in my business, allows me to stay healthy, allows me to get involved with communities, and hopefully make a difference. So try and see where you can double up on things and be a bit repetitive, because the more you are, the less, I guess, unaligned you feel. Okay, so how do you then achieve, how are you going to achieve the impossible, like we talked about? So some of you have been there, and I've talked to you about the fact that science and evidence now is pointing to the fact that it doesn't matter anymore whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, whether you're tall, whether you're short, whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're yellow, whether you're caramel, whether you're a human being, or whether you're a freaking alien. It doesn't matter when it comes to peak performance. Isn't that great? So High Performance Habits is the book that gave me some of these revelations, and there's been some deep research around this. And basically these 6 things move the needle the most. And this was so liberating for me, because if you remember, I told you a big shift happened for me at the end of last year. I stopped wanting to coach information. I stopped wanting to be politically correct in the sacrifice of telling people what they needed to hear so they can go and get the results. And in business, you know this, guys. You know this to be true. People sometimes in the most well-intended ways could be very misinformed and hurtful to your business. For example, people can say, it's okay, just meditate and your business is going to turn around. That's not completely true. Meditation is a very big, scientifically proven, great strategy to help you with the bigger shifts that you need to make so that you're not so restricted and frustrated in your business. However, if you don't have the right marketing strategies, which is about point number one, seeking clarity, going out there to find out what's actually working in the market versus what's not working, where are people spending their time, what are the things that actually matter that you can act on. The thing is, science in the past and social neuroscience, etc., I've been talking about this thing about leaning in your strengths and focusing on your power plays. I used to teach this up to last year, guys. So any of you that haven't heard this yet, I am sorry. It just doesn't add up because yes, it worked somehow, it affected a lot of things, but I'm talking for the top 15% of people performing fulfilled in business. They aren't focusing on the core strengths or personality stuff any less than anyone else's. What moves the things the most, the things that they do the most is number one, they're always seeking clarity. How can I improve? Who can help me improve? What skills do I need? How hard do I need to work? Where can I be smarter? La 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 la. And what risks am I prepared to take? All those little things are a very consistent thing across the board. And this is anything from the best super mom in the middle of who knows where to the top billionaire running a company all over the world. It's the same peak performance, top 15%. They seek clarity. They want to know how to improve and do better. Number two, they also generate energy. They generate energy. And the interesting word there is generate, guys. A lot of us are being taught or thinking that we need to get energy. So we're going to eat healthy so we can get energy, or we're going to sleep well so we can get energy. But what if I were to tell you that that's not necessarily what it is about, or get caffeine coffee so you can get energy, get that kick. Now, I drink coffee, love it, but the fact is peak performance is more about people who want to generate the energy. So if you look at a power plant, and I used this example before, a power plant doesn't get energy from somewhere and give it somewhere else. What it actually does is it converts the resources from its environment to create the energy. And then what it does is it just generates the energy after that. It radiates the energy after that. So that's a very different flow, very different intention. So what I would like to ask you there is, how are you personally, this is in the personal section, responsible for generating your own energy? What are you doing on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year basis that can really help you keep generating energy? So yes, from that point of view, you might want to eat better. Yeah? But you're eating better so you can continue to generate energy. Very different intention. Next is raising necessity. I love this. Most people now in my workshops keep asking me, hey, Aaron, out of all the habits that you have, which one's making the biggest difference last year when you went 10x in your business? Biggest one, guys, raising necessity. I had to raise the need to want to be more successful. And the one thing that really helps me, which I'm very clear on, that I find a lot of people are still seeking clarity on, is what is that one thing that you really, really need to do that's going to help you overcome a lot of things. So for me, it's quite simple. I remember when my journey became about the mission or importance of this. I lost my son, I lost my marriage. I think I've told you people, told some of you, sorry. But since that day, I've been living my day thinking, I want to do this for my son. And because it's not about me anymore, some people may give me criticism for being sometimes tough. Some people may, I don't know, not even like me or my content. But I don't care as much than I do care if I don't do it for my son, So the best analogy there is like, I heard someone was talking about if they, at the elite level, athletes, for example, these are all high performers. They're like split seconds apart from each other. These are all high performers. So there's no like major variations of differences. But if someone has the same time as someone else, best time as someone else, as healthy, as fit and young as someone else, the people that most people bet on isn't the person that dresses the most or looks the most. It's actually the person that has a bigger reason to want to succeed, or the bigger reason, like, I want to get a gold for my mom. These are the people most people bet on. So my question to you is, what's your necessity? What's the thing that's going to help you change the most? You need to be clear about that. You need to focus on it. And you need to raise your standards. So on a social level, obviously this is not to do with the external. What are the things that really matter that other people need to see? Number one is you need to increase your productivity. And here I'd just like to say, don't confuse productivity for activity. Yeah? Because sometimes you can be busy shuffling papers, logging online, cleaning up websites, whatever. These are great. But if you don't actually run the events, for example, then you're just being busy, but you're not being productive. So don't confuse the two. Number three, sorry, in the social side, is developing influence. Guys, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what product you have, it doesn't matter how big you are. If you don't have people that want to buy your product that you must influence, you're not going to have a very successful brand. That's just how it is. You must learn to be able to influence people, because this is the one key thing. Because at the end of the day, this is what it takes to grow yourself and grow in performance. Every peak performer person has the ability to influence others. Okay. And third is demonstrating courage. How are you today or tomorrow or next week or next year do bolder things in life that you know are going to help you get better success that you didn't quite do last year? What are those things that you let yourself off the hook? So really think about that, because that's important. Okay, so lastly, I'm just going to drill deeper into the Seek Clarity, because for the goal setting part of this program, it's very important to talk about which ones maybe are like a good deep dive. So seeking clarity is really good, but I'm going to go specifically about seeking clarity around goals. So the first place is, okay, where do I start with goals then? Where is a good area to set a goal in? And I'm talking an end goal. Well, we all know that the end goals are experiences. We talked about that. Like you want to go to Thailand, it makes sense to set the goal for Thailand. And then, obviously, it's going to cost you money to go to Thailand. So what I would like you to do now is think about some of the experiences that you'd like to have this year, but set yourself a goal to make a certain amount of money that can help you at least experience those goals at a minimum level. What do I mean by that? If you probably in the whole of your life have made $3,000 a month net or profit where you can take home and spend on your lifestyle, etc., it's okay to maybe set a goal for 6,000. Why? Because 6,000 is relatable. You know what it took you to make 3,000, so it's a double the effort type of attempt at least. Yeah. So set some money goals, because you know if you do set those money goals, whatever experiences you already had, whatever money you spent things on, you know next year you can do 2 times more. It's very, very basic. Number 2, set some goals around what makes you happy. I put the one with the tongue on the face because I'm a little bit of an immature person too. Some have said, yeah, totally, I don't need you to agree, but yeah, it's true. What's up is that, you know, don't just go, oh, this is fun and I'm enjoying this. It's like, what are the things that make you really feel childlike? Like for me, oh, I love running. I love running. I love jumping out of planes. I'm an adrenaline junkie, so I'm not saying you need to be this extreme, but I'm sure there's some things in your life that just give you so much happiness, but they do more than that. They make you giggle inside. So what are those things? What are those things? Try and write down 3 at least. And then look at the things that you love. Okay, set some goals around the things you love. Guys, I love community. I'm not trying to say this because it's like a branding exercise to go out there and make a difference. And I'll talk to you one day, maybe I'll do a section on what is contribution and what is not. I didn't get into social entrepreneurship because it was cool. I was already a social entrepreneur because, guys, I'm a product of social entrepreneurship. If it wasn't for one of my mentors who identified with me early on in my life and then helped coach me through to aspire for more and then learn English better and travel and all these sort of things, I just wouldn't be here. So I want to give back because maybe I could be that person for somebody else in my country. Does that make sense? So for me, it's relatable, it's personal. Now, if you never really had that background, don't worry about it. But the fact is, there are some things in your life that you really love, or there are people in your life that you really love. So set some goals around that, because those are the things that you relate to. And my challenge is try and do twice as much as you did last year. So if you love your mom or your dad like I do, and I'm really, really, really blessed that I have amazing parents that are still alive and reasonably healthy, I'll say that. But I haven't spent a lot of time with them. I haven't made the effort. So last year I just did a simple thing of setting a goal to call them at least once a week. And no matter what, I would make a set time. And that worked really, really well. So this year, we're setting a goal to talk twice a week, because I haven't seen them, they're overseas, etc. but that has made such a huge difference in the fulfillment levels of my life. So my question to you is, what is it for you? It could not be your parents, maybe someone else, whatever. It could be time, it could be charity, it could be whatever. But what is it that you love that you need to do? Or is it artistic outlets, whatever it is? Really think about that. So here's a couple of things now to talk about in terms of seeking clarity. What are the things peak performers do more than others, yeah, that helps them get clarity, that helps them perform better? Well, they do these 4 things first in terms of futuristic things. They ask themselves questions. So I'll put it in the affirmative for you so you can ask yourself. So who do I want to be in upcoming events, in situations and events? So for me, it's like last year I was there, but honestly there were some months I had a tough day or tough this, or this wasn't happening. So I wasn't showing up the way I should. So what about you? What do you want to be in upcoming events? Do you want to be remembered as a positive person? Do you want to be the contributor in every situation? Do you want to be the giver? Do you want to be the teacher? What do you want to be in upcoming situations? Number 2, who do I want to be in social situations? Oh, this is good. Guys, I was the introvert in social situations. I was the person that preferred to observe. I'm very curious about people, you probably noticed. But sometimes I was just scared of people. So I don't know what you feel or not, but it was such an awareness for me to say, wow. And then, a very crazy story. You probably heard it. I'll share some of my personal story. One day I'll do a deep dive on my life story. Well, let me know if you're interested. But anyway, on Basecamp. It's like, I remember there was this one girl I liked so much. I was really young, teenage days. You know how it is those days. There are hormones everywhere. Everything's crazy. But anyway, don't judge me. But I liked this girl so much and I wanted to say stuff to her, but I couldn't. I kept telling it to my friend. And guess what he did? He took all my good information, went to talk to her, and she ended up liking him, and that was the end of it. I lost out. Now, good for him. I was very happy for both of them. But that was such a day. I totally remember saying, that guy was more charismatic. He went out and used my words, but just did one step further. He went and actually approached that social situation in a positive. And from that day, I started mirroring him, replicating him, getting myself out there, putting up my hand in classes, all sorts of crazy stuff, because I knew that that was important to me, because I needed to find my voice, because I wanted to be remembered as someone who can connect with people, not someone who shies away from people, So yeah, it's just one of those things. So what about for you? What are you turning up as people? And just another one. I meet so many people in Bali, guys. After 5-10 minutes, we're talking. They're complaining about it. Complaining about the weather, complaining about the volcano, complaining about the visa situation, complaining about the corruption, complaining. Fact is, that's not who you want to be in social situations, because if you're honest with yourself, whether you're a complainer or not, do you like people complaining about things to you? The answer is no. Nobody likes a complainer. So don't be one. Third, what skills do I need to develop to gain mastery? This is such a crucial one that most non-peak performers don't ask. People want to, for example, they hear I do workshops around the world. I'm really, 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 really blessed and so grateful, and it wouldn't have happened without the support of you guys. But I speak and people want to get into the speaking or want to influence. But I always ask them, okay, this is good, but the question is, what is your practice time? And I'm like, huh? What do you mean? I'm reading books about it. I'm like, yeah, I know you're reading books about it, but what is your practice time? Like, huh? I don't know what you mean, but I attended a Tony Robbins workshop, and I was there and watching him and doing that stuff. I said, yeah, I get that, that's all good, and you should do that, but what is your practice time? And finally, they get it. So my question to you is, if you want to be a business owner, yeah, you gotta practice. So what's your practice time in launching businesses? If you want to be a fitter person, with a six-pack, athletic, whatever, how many times are you practicing in the gym? Same question. It's just don't confuse information with activity, because in this space, skill development, with practice, not activity, with practice. You have to practice. Fourth and last, future question. What service do I want to provide in the future? This is so important, guys. I can tell you all peak performances across all industries all confirm that they had a vision of themselves doing big things. They didn't know what they were going to do. I didn't know how I was going to do what I was going to do. I didn't even know coaches existed, but I felt in my gut, in my heart, that I just wanted to do more in life. I wanted to make other people's lives better. Don't you? Like, I think all of us do. I've never met someone who goes, nah, I just want to. No, well, actually, that's not true. I met someone joking about it, but once we had some conversations, there was always someone that wanted to make a difference with. Could have been people who maybe suffered something they did and they didn't want more people to suffer, whatever. There was always this component of wanting to be in service. And I think this is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself and others, is just get into a life filled with service. I hope you hear in my tone that I'm telling you the most peak performers, all of them by far, even the ones making so much money or whatever you think it is that they think that you think they're doing it for, they all say by far, like, man, this is just my mission. Man, this is my cause. Man, this is my purpose. Dude, I'm just obligated. I have a more obligation to make a difference. And then they usually add in coaching people, teaching people, building an iPhone, Steve Jobs' case. So what is it for you? How do you want to serve the world? Because it's not a matter of what do you want to serve the world. I think it's more of how do you want to serve the world. And if you're in my program, I'm sorry, we're going for that. How do you want to serve the world? Second point is feelings. Most peak performers, when they set goals, they don't just set the goal of money or set the goal of what fulfills them, like I talked about, or set the goal of what are the things they love. They say further than that is, how do I want to feel before I do this particular activity? Okay, so in my case, I don't know if you can hear my voice, you know, we had a great month. It's been a big day. We've been doing like a minimum 2 events every day. It's been intense. And I don't know, I got too excited, got worked up. I don't know, I just haven't slept for a few days. But yeah, I got some naps, but it has been like, I don't know, 3 hours here, 2 hours here, 4 hours, no sleep, thinking about it, pretending to sleep, you know, those times. You're just jacked up, right? But anyway, the point is, I knew I wanted to feel energetic and fresh before I recorded this for you, because we had some technical problems, so this is why you're getting this recording. But I knew during it, I wanted to be engaged. I feel like I'm connecting with you guys, like you're right here in this room, and I'm talking to myself. But I feel you here, yeah? And lastly, I want to feel proud of myself by the time I finish this video. And I know you understand what I'm talking about, because you've had a day where you've put everything into that day, and you walk out of that day spent, like there's nothing left, but you know, as they say in business, you left it all on the field. I can tell you I'm almost near the end of this presentation. I hope you feel that I've left it on the field, because that's what I expect you to feel, because I'm here to serve you. And it's not something like, I don't know, altruistic, egotistical, whatever some people confuse it to be. Oh yeah, but you're being over zealous on serving others, what about yourself? No, I'm serving you in this way because I can go to bed tonight proud of myself for doing that, because this is what I want to do. You know what I mean? So my challenge to you guys is, don't just go into these goals, set them, plan your business around these things we talked about, and just kind of leave it there. Ask yourself, how do you want to feel before, during, after? And even as far as, you know, building your whole business, like, you know, sports people talk about this. They don't just get the feeling of getting on the track, they get the feeling of how they're going to finish, and they have the feeling of how it's going to feel when they're high-fiving people when they've won the gold. They even have a feeling of going home and putting it on the wall, and they even create, you know, they do all sorts of crazy things to bring that emotion, because remember, the emotion creates necessity. Last, meaning. What has meaning for me right now? Guys, I can go on about this, but you know, I want to keep it to the hour. Find the meaning in everything that you're doing. And I've just been coaching some people. We've got about 2 people start this week in my business. Oh my God, these guys are amazing. You meet them, I hope, one day. One of them will probably be doing training for us in the local language here in Indonesia. But anyway, point is that there's just so much I can say about what this business means to me, because it gives me the opportunity to connect with extraordinary people like you, like extraordinary people like my team, and then create these extraordinary experiences together. But here's where it's also very, very interesting, is I'm constantly getting in and out of relationships, also key partnerships with businesses, clients, changing my product lines, because at the end of the day, I have to also ask myself the hard question and be honest of, is it gonna be different for me in the future? Will I still feel passionate about serving people in the coaching space or the online space? And honestly, the answer is yes, because I've always been a writer or a trainer. I just said that. But there's some things I've been doing in the past that are no longer aligned with me, that may not give me meaning in the future. That doesn't mean anything more than what it needs to mean, but it just means that at least you're setting these clarity, you're seeking clarity in what's the meaning in what I'm doing right now, and is this going to give me meaning in the future. So if you're doing a business, for example, that makes you maybe a lot of money, but it doesn't give you meaning, you're not aligned. You have to do something about that. So I was a dishwasher when I started my career in the West. Guys, it gave me some meaning at the beginning because I had an opportunity to be around English-speaking Australians, learn the culture, serve food, be in the back in the dishwashing. Yeah, it was a bit of a bottom-end job, but I did it with passion because I got to connect with the waiters coming, bringing the plates, laughing. When we closed down, we'd all share food together, we'd go partying. And I didn't feel bad about that. But I knew deep down inside that it was just a transition because one day I'll be running my own show, doing something else. So I still was grateful for that moment, but I started making strategic decisions to create more meaning in a different position. Does that make sense? But that's just something I need you guys to reflect on, is are you getting meaning in what you're doing right now? Because when you do, it shows, it comes out, you're going to go the extra mile for your clients and you're going to produce some amazing service experiences. But if it doesn't have meaning, you're most likely not. Yeah? So in closing, I'd like to leave you with this quote because, like I said, there's just so much research and data that's come back to debunk so many things I would have fought you tooth and nail last year on. Like, it's all about focusing on your strength. Like, it's all about sticking to your personality and building a business around that. If you hear any of my webinars, even up to November last year, I was saying that. But the fact is, guys, for peak performance, I'm talking the top 15% of people who are fulfilled in life and business across all industries. So this includes startups. Is that they realize this quote: the world cares less about your strengths and personality than it does about your service and meaningful contribution. So if you want to give service and contribution to the world, you have to make your challenge to yourself in these skills about practicing to grow into matching that mission versus relying on your strengths and personalities you might have been born with that may not be the person that needs to lead the business that you have. Does that make sense? So if you're like introverted and not confident, yet you want to build a big business, we must start to build those habits because you will serve the world in a more meaningful way. So I hope that's been really helpful for you. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive and definitely looking forward to getting some feedback on this. So again, if you got any feedback, please share 3 lessons. That's 3 key points you got out of this deep dive that hopefully can make the hugest difference to you and your business. Because I think we're really getting onto something here with a deep dive in the skills, and please try and connect it as much as possible to which of the practices around the 6 practices or 6 habits that can really help make a difference for you. So thank you very much, and we'll connect with you.